Today's video, I actually wanted to talk about a game that I hold very close, which is New World. Now, I've been playing New World on and off for years now since its release in 2021, and it's been one of my favorite action combat games, especially in the MMO genre, that I always seem to come back to. After every detour I take to Once Human, Dune Awakening, Lost Ark back in the day, I always came back to New World. And there was always mainly one reason, but a few reasons why, and the biggest was the combat. New World's combat to me is some of the best in genre action combat. Now, in past I've heard people say, it's a 3-button, dialed down crappy MMO where there's no skill, and I just find that such a bad take, and I want to say and talk about why I think that's a bad take. Is because the action combat in this game is more than just spamming 20 abilities on rotation like in World of Warcraft. In this game you have 6 abilities on rotation with 2 weapons that are only a small piece of the puzzle. You have all these other different mechanics in a game like New World that really make the action combat shine. You've got dodging, which has an iframe, you've got obviously stamina management, you've got game sense awareness, positioning, and movement. It is all an important dynamic to this game, and most importantly, it is all aim based. It requires hitting skill shots to your target. There is no, well, there is actually a lock on now, funny enough, but majority of the time you still want to be aiming your attacks because that is still the most beneficial way to play in New World, and that is one of the reasons why I love this game. I've been a Musket main in this game, if you don't know who I am. It is the build I've played since pretty much day dot, and that I've always, put my pride into being one of the best muskets, and that's something I very much enjoy in this game, is learning the weapon ins and outs, start to finish, through all the changes it's been through. If you didn't know, musket is actually now a projectile weapon in New World. If you haven't played in a long time, you can actually see a physical bullet projectile that has to lead on its targets. And there's so much to this game since its original launch in 2021 that I wanted to talk about in today's video, and just some brief points about why I really like this game. And of course, not only is the action combat great, the world is alive, and it is a pretty good looking MMO, even by today's standards. Of course, you've got things like, Throne and Liberty and all those other great looking games coming up, but New World, in my opinion, compared to a lot of other games or a lot of other MMOs in the genre, still looks pretty good. And not only that, there is a lot of differences back from its 2021 launch. You now have a whole slew of features that people wanted in the game that are actually here and are incredibly well done, such as mounts. And I think this is one of my favorite MMO mount systems in a long time. Of course, there are some cons, like a lot of the mounts you'll want are probably going to be a store, MTX microtransactions, right? But there's also a decent amount of free ones you can get as well. And that's the same with cosmetics. Way back in 2021, New World launch, I don't know if you remember, there was this horrible, the cosmetics were absolutely trash. And there still are bad cosmetics in New World. I'm not going to hold the game, against that, but there is a lot of good cosmetics now too, and that's something I wanted to highlight. For example, this is one of my recent favorite transmogs I put together, which utilizes this sort of summer beach top with like a sort of almost desert thief vibe going on. You've got the jewelry, the keys on the belt, and it was a really nice sort of high contrast look that I like. And there's so many other great combinations you can do. Ignore the amount of money I spend on this game. I've got a lot of skins here, but there's so many other great outfits you can make. Like this is actually a free skin that you could buy from the faction store they recently added, and I simply dyed it with black dye. And if you haven't played since launch, then they've actually got black dye in the game now. It is a premium item. Of course, they're going to put it behind the store, but nonetheless, you can actually make your outfits black now, proper black, not like a washed out gray. And it looks fantastic. Like, this is another one of my favorite fits that I've recently started running. And to add to that, of course, that means the game now has transmog, so you can go and collect everything in the open world and then buy a transmog token. Of course, it's not going to be free, but they still wanted to make it feel like there was a completionist system behind it, and this made me pretty happy, especially way back when they added it, I think in 2023, if time recalls correctly. But if you haven't played since launch, I know a lot of people haven't played since launch because this game peaked at a high of almost 900,000 players on Steam probably over millions of copies sold, and a lot of you probably haven't played the game since that original launch in 2021, and now that the game has seen all these changes, I really think it is beneficial to check it out if you're looking for an MMO or a game to, check out, try again and see how it, stands the test of time. If you still like it, if you want to try it, if you think the game had potential, I think now is the time to come back. We're especially getting a massive expansion-like update in October with the details coming in September. We're just going to add a new zone below Brimstone Sands. It's going to be our first zone extension since 2022, which is going to be very important. It's going to be down here below to the bottom left of Brimstone across the lake from Eben. And it's going to be a sort of gothic vibe. It's going to have a new raid. If you haven't played since, again, launch, we've got a raid in the game. And that includes the new activities screen. This is a whole nother thing we could jump into here. Is you've got all these different modes, all these different systems, and all these different instanced activities you can take part in. For example, there's Outpost Rush, but not just the classic Outpost Rush you remember. There's actually a new map called the Kroll Divide. And the cool thing is, every map rotates on an hourly basis. And to add to this, your gear score will now scale up to 700, so you can compete on a more equal footing. It's still 20v20, and it's still one of my favorite game modes. Now with 2 maps, and not only that, they're adding a 3rd map soon as well. There's going to be 3 different Outpost Rush maps. Now you might have seen some other game modes on the instant screen. They've also added Capture the Flag, which is a 10v10, classic game mode of Capture the Flag. You take the flag, back to yours, and you get a point, right? There's also 2 maps in this mode, which are both unique. One called Frozen Pass, and I can't remember the name of the other one. Forbidden City, that's right. And they're also on an hourly rotation. Both with the unique vibe. We'll have a bit of Capture the Flag gameplay on screen cutting in here. And if you like that sort of game mode, they have that in the game too. Not only that, back in the day when you used to play Outpost Rush, it was hard to get games because you would only be matchmaking in your server. Now, you cross-server matchmake in your region. So if you hit play on Outpost Rush, you would matchmake with anyone inside your region, which helps increase the player pool and get you matches faster. Now, of course, in regions like Australia, where I live, there's still going to be a lot less players, even considering that factor, because we're down to 1 server now. But if you're in like North America and EU, you have a very healthy population to play all the different activities between. You have 3v3 Arena as well, which also just got its 3rd map recently. So there's 3 arena maps if you like 3v3 small scale PvP, and that's, pretty cool. The other map is called Verdant Court, which they added recently. I have some gameplay up on screen of Verdant Court because I think it's a very cool map. And then you've got the Gladiators Ring, and then you've got the OG map from 2022 as well. So it's very cool to have all of these different activities that you can take part in. Expeditions now have a group finder that is also cross-server matchmaking. You can tick all the boxes. You get daily bonuses for doing the matchmaker as well. You have mutated expeditions in the matchmaker, and these also showcase their rewards, the difficulties, the lobby, so you still have the lobby finder or the matchmaking system. You can do either one. And on top of that, you've got the elite trials. This includes the 20-man sandworm, which got buffed rewards recently, has some of the most sought after gear in the game now, alongside the 10-man raid, which is the other thing they added back in 2024. And that is the Hive of Gorgons raid. And then again, we're getting another raid come October in the new zone. So there's going to be 2 raids in the game. And this has, again, some of the best gear in the game. Like for me, the Hot Buy Musket, it's one of the best in slot weapons in the game. So again, if you haven't played the game in a long time, there is a lot to do here, even just from the new activities screen, which sort of has all of the theme park activities bundled together that you would expect in a theme park MMO. Quite a drastic change from the more sandbox approach we had back in 2021, where you just had Outpost Rush, and that was pretty much it on the activity finder. Now, we didn't even have the activity finder. You would queue Outpost Rush, I believe, from the game menu. But now you have an activity finder. You have all the activities laid out. You can pick what you want to do. They have soul trials, which these are like little solo boss fights. The sad part about these is they have pretty bad rewards, so I'm hoping these get buffed come October. And with that said, they're actually doing a progression overhaul in October as well. They're bringing back the much liked Umbral system, obviously with some changes on the parts that people didn't like about the Umbral system. They're also introducing something brand new in October called set bonuses. If you didn't know, perks and gear is obviously important in any MMO, especially New World, and that is where you have all your different perks and such. But something New World has never had is a system where perks actually work together to give you bonuses, or sorry, gear sets work together to give you bonuses. So for example, I have Hoplite boots and a Hoplite shirt, but these don't work together to give me a 2-piece set bonus. But in October, they're going to be introducing new, unique gear that has set bonuses, and when you wear them together, they're going to give you a benefit. And I think that's a great system. It's a system that Once Human had that I actually liked quite a lot. And it's also just going to give you more playstyles and more freedom to test things and create wacky builds. And that is one of the other best parts about New World that I was talking about at the start. Not only do I love the action combat in this game is classless. It has so much build variety that you can come up with a build that is unique just to you. For example, I could run the Serenity Greatsword and Rapier, and I could make that work if I learned the ins and outs of this build and actually have it be a beneficial playstyle in Battlegrounds or in Outpost Rush, sorry. There's actually many different viable meme builds, as they're called, that you can have fun with in this game. And that is sort of the best part of a classless MMO, is you're not locked into anything. The freedom is here to allow you to choose any way you want to play, and I really do like that. For example, as a Musket main, which you could consider a class, I have so many different Musket builds in itself. I've got Musket and the Pestilence, which is a blunderbuss. I've got Musket and bow. I've got Musket and rapier. I've got Musket and Life Taker, which is a Void Gauntlet build. And that is just one weapon with many different combinations. You could think of another weapon and it has all those other combinations as well. And then you've got the artifact system, which if you haven't played since 2023, adds a new red tier of gear, which gives unique perks that only that piece of gear in the game can have. For example, this is an earring that'll make health potions or consumables stronger, and only this item in the game has that perk. Now, that's a pretty niche one. There's other ones that are much cooler, such as the Scorpion Sting, which is a really cool artifact, and this will actually, when you throw a javelin, which would usually just CC people at distance, instead, that javelin is actually going to reel a player into you. There's all of these cool systems in the game that make it so unique, and why I always come back to it. And this isn't just me trying to sell you and shill the game to you. I genuinely do love this game, and as much as I've hated the devs in the past for the decisions I've made, it has only gotten better. And recently they have switched the development lead to Qaulity, which I believe is a former community lead, is now taking the helm of the game over Scott Lane, who I believe has moved to Lord of the Rings. And I think this changes for the better, as over the last half a year, I've really started to notice a change in direction in giving the players what they actually want. And that comes down to, you know, the Outpost Rush maps, the game modes, the PvP modes that a lot of us, like niche player base, have been asking for, has finally been getting added. And I feel like from here, especially what comes in October and gets revealed in September, I think we might finally be on track to have a really good MMO on our hands. And I'm happy I stuck out with this game through thick and thin, because it is such a fundamentally good game with such high potential. So that's all I wanted to talk about, and that's kind of just what I wanted to wrap this video around, is there's so much you can do. In fact, what I'm currently doing is I'm collecting every single musket in the game. So if I scroll down here in the Transmog UI, you can see I'm collecting every single musket. I'm almost there. I've got like 30 or so or 40 or so muskets left, but I've collected hundreds of muskets, and that's just one of the activities you can do, is, you know, that classic MMO experience is you can go out and find something to do that suits your playstyle. You could be a gatherer and interact with the trade skill system. You could be a PvP, a PvE that chases leaderboards, because that's now a thing, if I didn't mention it. You know, there's all this different stuff that the game now has that it didn't, where I finally feel like the game is in a state that it's worth checking out again. That's all I want to leave with you guys in today's video. I can't wait to make more videos on New World again. I've always loved this game, and I always fucking come back to it. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace.